Hello friends, in British economic system, the permanent settlement has a very significant role. Let us see what permanent settlement was and how did it affect the Indian lives. The system of forming revenue to the highest bidders, at first for 5 years and then for 1 year as adopted by Hastings, proved extremely unsatisfactory. It made the revenue of company precarious and fluctuating. Hence, the directors condemned the system and expressed their preference for a permanent settlement. Cornwallis agreed with them and, in pursuance of their instructions, made the decennial settlement in 1789. Next, with the concurrence of Prime Minister Pitt and President of Board of Control, he declared the existing settlement permanent in 1793. Thus was carried out the famous permanent settlement of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. The chief features of measures were that the jamidars who had hitherto been mere collectors of revenue were declared absolute proprietors of the soil and that the revenue payable by them was fixed in perpetuity. They were not liable to eviction except on the ground of non-payment of revenue. Sir John Shore was opposed to this measure on the ground that it was premature and that an irrevocable step should not be taken before sufficient information concerning the land was obtained. Cornwallis was urged to this step by the consideration that under the influence of ownership and permanent assessment the jamidars would be encouraged to invest capital on land and thereby would promote the progress and improvement of the country. Besides, a permanent settlement would create a body of landholders strongly attached to the company's rule. On the merits of permanent settlement, opinion is divided. There is no doubt that it gave popularity to the British government and helped to make Bengal the wealthiest and most flourishing province in India. It has improved the position of jamindars and has removed all those checks to industry and improvements which are inevitable when the government takes away part of the profit. Lastly, it has avoided the evils of periodical settlement which at however long intervals produce economic dislocation, evasion and deliberate throwing of land out of cultivation. Against this measure, Dr. Smith and other officials urged the following arguments. First, by recognizing the jamidars alone, it ignored the ancient rights of under proprietors and left them at the mercy of newly created landlords. As a matter of fact, the status of the tenants was impaired and their position had to be improved by subsequent legislation. Secondly, it caused considerable financial loss in as much as it deprived the government of a share in the increasing value of the land, that is, in its unearned increment. Thirdly, the rigid punctuality of the payment of revenue enforced by the sale law caused great hardship and ruined many jamindars. Lastly, the hope that was entertained that the jamindars would improve and develop their estates had not been realized. To sum up, a settlement for a long term of years might have retained all the advantages of permanent settlement without its defects. The results of permanent settlement may be described as follows. In regard to the three interested parties, the jamindars, the raiyat and the ruling power, it assured the welfare of the first, somewhat postponed the claims of the second and sacrificed the interest of